partial pressure is pressure, and as I try to suggest it with parts of the word partial painted out, a partial pressure is a kind of pressure that relates to one part in a gas mix typically. For example, here in this container we have three kinds of gases. Just imagine that the green is nitrogen, the red is CO2, and the blue is oxygen. In this container, the partial pressure of oxygen means that the individual gas, oxygen's pressure is compared to the pressure of the mix as a whole. And it works pretty easily with this piece count. For example, here we have 3 pieces of oxygen here, and we have a total of 10 pieces of gas. So the oxygen's pressure is 3 out of a total of 10. If the total mix has 10 units of pressure, the gas mix has 10 units of pressure, like 10 psi or 10 pascals or 10 anything, then the oxygen has a pressure of 3 out of the 10. Okay, that 3 out of 10, it can also be written as 0.3. It's the same decimal fraction. And not only their pressures will be proportionate in a mix, the individual pressure of oxygen will be proportionate or will be a fraction of the mix, but also the volume, the individual volume of oxygen will be a fraction or portion of the whole. So if you take the pressure of the individual and divide it by the pressure of the mix, it's going to be 0.3, but you get the same number if you take the volume of the individual and divide it by the volume of the mix. Okay, so that's how partial pressure works, or that's how it's represented in simple terms. And because it's gases, their volumes and their pressures are kind of go hand in hand. Where partial pressure is important is in breathing mixes of these gases. Okay, what's a survivable level of oxygen content? It depends on the partial pressure of oxygen in the gas mix. One more concept about partial pressure is important is that the survivable level of oxygen in a gas mix is not the same, is dependent on the pressure, but pressure is not the same as concentration. For example, here is a 10-person World Cup team, and right, here's a goalkeeper there. If these 10 players sit down in the field and do nothing, they are not going to be scoring goals. To score goals, these players have to be moving. They must have a pressure exerted on the opponent team, because without it, they're not scoring goals. So even if you have the best players, even if all of these players are oxygen, and say oxygen would be a world-class players like Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. If you have 10 Lionel Messis and Schweinsteigers and everybody in one team, but they all sit down, it doesn't accomplish anything. So concentration is not enough. They have to have a pressure. Okay, so pressure is the key to many things in, for example, these breathable mixes and survivable levels of oxygen, or in biology, the partial pressure of dissolved gases in your blood. That's where these concepts come in.